let's talk to Paul, who's been waiting for an hour and a half anyway, calling in from Canada. It says here apatheist, like apathy and atheist together. It's an interesting title. I think I know what it means, but it's cool.
I think that's the Aaron Raw thing, but we'll see.
Oh, is it? Okay, cool. Paul says that if belonging is more important than faith, then Coyne and Dawkins have made atheism just as unwelcome. I agree. Welcome to the line, Paul. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. You heard me okay?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay, perfect. It's good to speak with you both. Followed you. I keep being tempted to give someone a potato as a gift. Thanks to your inspiration, Forrest.
Hell yeah. How did it go? Did they love it?
I haven't done it. I keep thinking it's a good idea, though.
It is. You only think that because it's
actually
true.
called. I called in last week with Paul and Shannon, and I essentially, I'll just sort of quickly recap so people sort of follow. Faith has like three principles: belief, belonging, and behavior. And I find a lot of the emphasis is on belief, understandably. But for someone like myself, like I'm actually more of an atheist, but to be honest, like I really don't care. Because the reason why I left the church had nothing to do with like theological interpretations, right? I mean, even when I was part of the church, like, we didn't believe in creationism. We didn't believe in, so like Big Bang, evolution. Like even when I was in the church as a kid, like that was perfectly okay. What turned me off was hypocrisy and, politics and other things of that nature. So what repels me is like, I'm more politically orientated, to be honest. So I look at, the sort of right-wing Christian nationalists and all that stuff, and it completely repels me. But on the flip side, I see progressive Christians, and we raised some of this in the last week, where I said like United Church of Canada, Anglican Church of Canada, like they're affirming of the LGBT community, they're not anti-abortion, all these things. So I'd be like, yeah, I could totally see myself belonging to those churches, even though I don't believe in God. And it really came to light for me thinking about it afterwards as to why I was thinking about this is, first of all, I've been thinking a lot about this after the U.S. election, where I've just been very disillusioned because, like, okay,
just
if
wait
people
for the
actually
Canadian
buy into this stuff.
The Canadian one's coming, and it's gonna be the same. Anyway,
exactly, 100%. Like, it's like, Pierre Poilievre is just as bad as Trump. Well, I wouldn't say he's as bad as Trump, but he's pretty bad. And so there's where I'm kind of disillusioned politically, and I feel a kinship with sort of progressive Christians. And so if I have to say, who do I align myself more with between, say, Raphael Warnock and Richard Dawkins, I'm going with, Raphael Warnock, not Richard Dawkins, because I care more about who I align with than sort of believing in God. And I know, like the line has been very thing. So I just kind of see, so your perspective, but I just see like Dawkins and Coyne did a lot of damage to people like me who, like, I don't feel, if this is what you guys are about with atheism, then why should I align myself with you?
So the major issue that we face as a an atheist movement, if you will, right, is this kind of marketability and palatability among religious people. I think people like Dawkins and Coynes and Hitchens and all these people that are these vitriolic, outspoken atheists that are ready to rally against religion do a lot of good, because religion is harmful by its very existence. It does harm. And so arguing against it and at least getting that conversation to be normalized is incredibly beneficial. We live in a world where for a long time, you're just not allowed to say anything negative about anybody's religion ever. And that has led to a lot of problems. And so I think the work that they do as anti-theists, as outspoken atheists, as debaters, even when it's kind of distasteful, even when it's pretty aggressive, is a net positive. I think, the biggest issue we have is when you do those jobs for a long time, and you sometimes act like an asshole because you hear the same question 1,000 times and it gets a little fucking annoying. I've been an asshole on some calls where I shouldn't have been. It just comes with the job because we're humans. And also specifically with Coin and Dawkins, because those are the ones on your goal screen here, specifically when you then also rope in a whole bunch of hate mongering and shitty hate speech against people that need the help of the secular community and should be protected by the skeptic community. And you push those people out and behave as fundamentalist religious people because this goes against your personal preferences and sensibilities, despite what the evidence says and despite what skepticism would lead you to do and to believe. That's an issue for me. And that pushes people out and does a lot more harm than just criticizing religion ever could. So that's the thing for me. I think we can get better role models as atheists, and I think we get better poster boys, better speakers, better figureheads. That's the word I was looking for. As a skeptic and secular movement than those people. And think we're spoiled for choice. There's a lot of really, really, really great atheists and skeptics and speakers out there that are doing great work that don't have the same problematic tendencies. Paul, do you think anything different?
Well, the other problem we have is that atheism is the answer to one question, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it comes with nothing else. So we don't need to have any. As I recall your call from last week, my problem with you was that you were willing to go along with utility of an idea, where I care first about the truth of value of the idea, and then we can talk about the utility of the idea. And I'm hearing that in your pitch as well, that you have particular goals, and when belief systems that are, you don't believe what they believe, but if they have some of those same goals, you're wanting to rally together, and that's fine, because that's how you would achieve those specific goals. I'm not even saying I have problems with those goals. The thing about atheism is atheism doesn't try to have utility, right? Like it doesn't have it. Actually, the only thing you get out of atheism is intellectual honesty. And that's not always helpful even. Right? So again, I'm sorry that some people are making the answer to that one question seem unpalpable, but I mean, imagine if you went around and you publicized I'm left-handed, and you went around and you said, you know what? There's a lot of left-handed people with some shitty ideas. So, Paul, you're associated with those left-handed people, and man, those left-handed people with bad ideas are making left-handed people look really bad. And I'm like, well, I don't know what to do about that, because all we're aligned with is this one little tiny sliver of a thing. And so I guess maybe other people are expecting more out of atheism than I am, because it's really just the answer to one question. If you wanted to say, well, you know what, secular humanism has this problem, or some of these other organizing principles may have these problems, then that's more we're talking about. Or in Canada, you want to say, oh, well, I'm trying to align with the NDP, but the NDP, you have these problematic areas. That's a thing we can actually talk about, because those are collections. Those are groups that have collections of ideas. Whereas just atheists, I get it. Some people who agree with me on that one God question disagree with me on other stuff. I wish that wasn't the case. I think we all wish everyone agreed with us, but there's not really much to be done, I don't think. If we want to add utility to people's lives, atheism specifically isn't the way to do that.
Yeah, I definitely hear what you're saying, and here's where I guess I have a problem with the truth argument. And to be totally fair, I didn't have any negative repercussions from leaving the church, right? Like, I didn't have any family, trying to woo me back, and all this other negative repercussions a lot of other people have. So, like, I've, people who have, trauma from leaving the church, I totally get it, right?
Or from being in it, but yes.
Or being in it, exactly, right? Yeah, so, like, I'm coming from a privileged position, which I'll acknowledge. But with regards to the truth perspective, here's where, like, the God of the gaps is a bit of a is kind of an interesting thing. Like, you can't say we don't know something, therefore God, right? Like, that's what God of the Gaps is. But the truth is, there are things that we don't know, and therefore we can't disprove God either, right? Depending on your definition, right? Like,
Because he's not
like maybe there
falsifiable
is something
generally.
out there. Yeah, it's exactly. It's unfalsifiable. So atheism doesn't purport that, right? Atheism just says, I don't believe God. It doesn't say there is no God. I guess there's what I'm saying. You can't say, people believing in God, they're not true, right? Because we can't prove that they're wrong. Unlike, you raised the example last week of like the flat Earth. Well, I, we have pictures from space. We know the world is not flat, right? We have proof, but we can't prove there is no God.
Yeah, okay. So my flat Earth analogy from last week may not be as directly related this week to what we're talking about, but I mean, and I won't speak for Forrest here, but for myself, when people who accept things based on the kind of reasons that religious people accept, their epistemology of a religious person to come to accept their religious belief bleeds over to other areas of their lives. And I think there is harm in just merely utilizing that epistemology, even in one part of your life. Other people are free to not think it's as big a deal as I do. I think it's a big deal because I tend to witness it bleeding over into other areas.
And I feel the same way. That's why I always say, if somebody can make you believe absurdities, they can make you believe commit atrocities, and that's why I am so outspoken about this stuff, because it's not just benign. It's not just a matter of opinion. It's not just about a matter of belief. It's a matter of belief system. It's a matter of what you allow yourself to believe. It's a matter of how you go about believing things. It's a matter of what bullshit you allow into your life and into your mind. And it's a matter of not just like ideas. It's a matter of ideals. And that's a big difference to me. So I agree with Paul wholeheartedly.
No, that's not to discount.
That's fair. I guess where I differ, I'll just leave it at this, but where I differ is I don't see it as entirely negative. I recognize the harm. I recognize how it can be harmful.
Nope.
But I don't.
Nobody said it's entirely negative.
Negative by default.
Right. Nobody said it's entirely negative. The issue is that it is more negative than positive, and the potential negatives far outweigh any potential positives. So, like, there is not a single good thing that you can get from religion that you can't also get outside of religion without the baggage and the trauma and the terror that comes along with religious belief.
I slightly disagree, but that's fair. Yeah. Okay. All right.
Okay.
Thanks for your time.
Okay.
Take care, Paul.
Thanks, Paul.
Bye.